This is Case Files Explained. We break down the investigations behind the headlines, following the evidence from crime scene to courtroom. Tonight, a father ambushed in front of his toddler, a tire placed in the road as bait, and a murder-for-hire allegation that reaches into his own former family. On February 16, 2022, Jared Bridegan was driving home after dropping off his 9-year-old twins at his ex-wife's house in Jacksonville Beach, Florida. His 2-year-old daughter was strapped into her car seat behind him. He had no reason to expect anything but a quiet drive back to his wife and their home. Then he saw it. A tire sitting in the middle of the road. Bridegan did what most people would do. He stopped his SUV and got out to move it. It was an ambush. 4 shots rang out. 2 struck Jared Bridegan. He died there on the pavement, his daughter still in the car behind him. Jared Bridegan was 33 years old. He worked as a senior manager at Microsoft, a career that had taken him from Jacksonville to St. Augustine and back again. He had married Shanna Gardner in 2010. They had twins together, a boy and a girl. By 2015, that marriage was over, ending in what court records describe as an acrimonious divorce. The custody arrangement that followed would become the center of everything. Bridegan and Gardner shared custody of the twins, an arrangement Bridegan came to believe was being sabotaged. In court filings before his death, Bridegan documented what he called parental alienation, claims that Gardner was poisoning the twins against him, limiting his time with his own children. Meanwhile, Jared had moved on. He remarried in 2017. His new wife, Kirsten, would later become one of the most vocal advocates demanding answers about what happened that February night. Shanna Gardner had also remarried. Her new husband was Mario Fernandez, a personal trainer and entrepreneur. Prosecutors would later allege he became central to the plot against Bridegan. The investigation began immediately. Jacksonville Beach police secured the scene on that quiet road where Bridegan had fallen, his daughter miraculously unharmed despite 2 bullets striking the SUV. Detectives canvassed the neighborhood. They pulled surveillance footage from nearby homes, and they began the painstaking work of tracing the evidence back to its source. The breakthrough came through digital forensics. Investigators identified a vehicle that had been in the area that night, a car registered to a man named Tenon. Cell phone records told the rest of the story. Tenon's phone had pinged in Bridegan's neighborhood multiple times in the weeks before the murder. He had been watching, learning the routine. Most damning, 18 days before the killing, Tenon's cell phone placed him at a gymnastics class attended by Bridegan's daughter. He had been stalking the family. Tenon was not a stranger to the other players in this case. He had been a tenant of Mario Fernandez, Shanna Gardner's husband. Their connection was documented and undeniable. Investigators now had a thread to pull. Tenon was the gunman, but who had sent him? The cell phone data and financial records began to paint a picture of coordination. When confronted with the evidence, Tenon made a choice. He agreed to cooperate with prosecutors, pleading guilty to second-degree murder in exchange for his testimony. According to prosecutors, Tenon's testimony points directly at Shanna Gardner and Mario Fernandez. He claims they directed the killing, provided the resources, and chose the location. The alleged motive cuts to the heart of the case. Prosecutors say Shanna Gardner wanted Jared Bridegan dead because she was tired of sharing custody of their twins. The tire in the road was not an accident or debris. Prosecutors allege it was deliberately placed as bait, designed to force Bridegan to stop his car and step out. In March 2023, Shanna Gardner was arrested at her home in Washington State, where she had relocated after Bridegan's death. Mario Fernandez was arrested in Florida. Both were charged with first-degree murder. Both have pleaded not guilty. If convicted, they face life in prison without the possibility of parole. The case has drawn national attention, featured on network news programs and true crime podcasts. For Kirsten Bridegan, Jared's widow, it became a mission to ensure the alleged conspirators faced trial. She has spoken publicly about her husband's final moments, about the trauma their daughter experienced witnessing the aftermath, about the years of legal battles that followed. But the path to trial has not been straightforward. Defense attorneys have raised questions about evidence handling, about the reliability of witness statements, and about prosecutorial conduct. Most significantly, Henry Tenon, the prosecution's star witness, has indicated he may seek to withdraw his guilty plea. This creates substantial uncertainty about the trial ahead. If Tenon refuses to testify or recants his statements, the prosecution will need to rely more heavily on circumstantial evidence, the cell phone records, the financial ties, the documented relationships. Without direct testimony from the admitted gunman pointing the finger at Gardner and Fernandez, the case becomes a more complex puzzle for prosecutors to assemble. The trial has been delayed multiple times. Originally scheduled for 2025, it was pushed back to allow both sides more time to prepare. Jury selection is now set for August 10, 2026. For the families involved, the delays mean more years of waiting. For the twins at the center of the custody dispute, it means more years of uncertainty about what happened to their father. The Gardner family has wealth and connections. Shanna's father founded a successful pest control company in Utah, providing resources for a robust legal defense. This has led to one of the case's secondary narratives, the question of whether financial resources can delay or complicate justice in the American legal system. Mario Fernandez and Shanna Gardner have since divorced. Their alliance, if prosecutors are correct about the conspiracy, did not survive the weight of the murder charges. They will be tried together, despite their separation. Their fates are legally intertwined, even as their personal relationship has dissolved under the pressure of prosecution. The murder-for-hire allegation adds a specific element to the case. Under Florida law, this classification requires prosecutors to prove a financial or material exchange in return for the killing. This means the prosecution must demonstrate not just that Gardner and Fernandez wanted Bridegan dead, but that they paid or promised something to Tenon to make it happen. The 2-year-old girl in the back seat that night survived physically unharmed. 2 of the 4 bullets fired struck the SUV, narrowly missing her car seat. She is now 6 years old. She has grown up without her father and will likely be called upon to provide testimony when she is old enough to understand what she witnessed. This human element, the children left behind, the widow seeking answers, runs beneath the legal proceedings. The case is about more than criminal charges. It's about a family destroyed. Jared Bridegan's work computer and personal devices were examined as part of the investigation, revealing the extent of his documented concerns about the custody arrangement. His emails to attorneys, his notes about interactions with his ex-wife, his careful documentation of custody exchanges, all became part of the evidentiary record. These records paint a picture of a father fighting through legal channels to maintain his relationship with his children, a battle that prosecutors say may have cost him his life. The investigation also examined financial transfers between the defendants and Henry Tenon. Prosecutors allege these payments were connected to the murder plot. Defense attorneys have challenged the interpretation of these financial records, arguing that the transfers had legitimate explanations related to Tenon's tenancy. This battle over evidence interpretation will be central to the August 2026 trial. Jurors will need to weigh competing explanations for the same set of documented facts. Pre-trial hearings have addressed evidentiary challenges from both sides. Defense motions have sought to exclude certain statements. Prosecution has fought to preserve the full record. Judge Lee Smith has presided over these proceedings, ruling on admissibility questions that will shape what the jury ultimately sees and hears. The state attorney's office has assembled a dedicated team for this prosecution. The case requires coordination between multiple agencies, local police, state prosecutors, and federal investigators. Murder-for-hire cases, are relatively rare but carry significant prosecutorial resources when they occur. The organized nature of such crimes demands a comprehensive investigative response. If convicted of first-degree murder under Florida's murder-for-hire statute, both Gardner and Fernandez face mandatory life sentences without possibility of parole. The stakes could not be higher. For the defendants, it is their freedom forever. For the prosecution, it is accountability for what they call a cold-blooded execution. The trial in August 2026 will finally bring this case before a jury of 12. After more than 4 years, the legal system will render its verdict on what happened that February evening. This case illustrates how modern investigations rely on digital evidence. Cell phones, vehicle tracking systems, and financial records create trails that persist long after a crime is committed. For those in contentious custody situations, the Bridegan case underscores the importance of documenting concerns through proper legal channels. Not for evidence in a murder case, but for protection. Bridegan kept detailed records of his interactions and concerns. While this documentation could not save his life, it became crucial evidence in the investigation that followed. If you are experiencing threats or concerning behavior in a family law dispute, report these concerns to law enforcement and your attorney. Documentation creates a record that matters. The investigation also shows how quickly a digital footprint can be traced. Tenon was identified through his vehicle registration and cell phone, standard investigative tools that leave little room for anonymity. This is the reality of criminal investigation in 2026. Digital evidence has transformed how cases are built, making certain kinds of conspiracies far more difficult to conceal. The Bridegan trial is scheduled to begin August 10, 2026. Those following the case can monitor proceedings through local Jacksonville media outlets and court information systems. Court records in Florida are generally public. Those interested in following the legal filings can access documents through the Duval County Clerk of Court's online system. The outcome of this trial will determine whether the murder-for-hire theory is proven beyond a reasonable doubt, or whether Gardner and Fernandez walk free. Henry Tenon, meanwhile, awaits his fate. His sentence for second-degree murder will be determined after his role in the Gardner and Fernandez trial is complete. His cooperation, or lack thereof, may ultimately determine whether the prosecution succeeds. A star witness who refuses to testify creates a significant gap in any case. Jared Bridegan's memory lives on through his children and through Kirsten, who has become an advocate for victims of family court-related violence. She has testified before legislatures about the dangers that can emerge from custody disputes, using her husband's death to advocate for better protections. On that February evening in 2022, a father stopped to move a tire from the road. It was the last ordinary act of his life. What followed was anything but ordinary. Shanna Gardner and Mario Fernandez maintain their innocence. In August 2026, a jury will weigh the evidence and deliver a verdict. Until then, the case remains open. This has been Case Files Explained. We follow the evidence, we present the facts, and we wait for the system to deliver its conclusions. Until next time, stay informed, stay vigilant, and remember that every case has a human story beneath the headlines.